Rick and Morty comic, Worlds Apart, issue 3. It starts out in The Pocket, in Ricktopia Republic, 50 years after the Rick War began. Good thing it's explained that Operation Phoenix is a thing Ricks can do, so it can make sense that Rick lived that long. And all of the civilians here look like Mortys, so he won't miss them as much. Because there's always going to be Mortys around him. We see the clones of Teddy Rick flying and shooting lasers as Ricktopia burns. All because Rick insisted on going to war. I suppose it makes sense that... Wait, he made a microverse battery for his spaceship. I mean, couldn't he easily generate enough power to have a force field around the entirety of Ricktopia, even if it does cover half the planet? I mean, there's nothing Rick can't do. But it does have to let down the force field for a little bit, but... well, never mind. I'm sure the force field could extend underground so that it's a literal circle around Ricktopia. So they couldn't drill under it and make it useless. He still would have to turn off the force field for the war machines to leave Ricktopia, and I guess that second where it was down was enough for Ricktopia to burn. One of the larger Mortys with multiple eyes says that Rick needs him. He tries to fight some soldiers, and there's some gore I don't want to see as a result. And then he's spotted by blimp spotlights from the enemy. Lasers get fired at him, and he hides, and it looks like he should logically be burned up. But instead we cut to him knocking on Rick's cabin hideout. Rick gets given his Thai food he ordered. And while the Morty who got it for him needs medical attention, he doesn't care because he didn't get any napkins. Hopefully this scene will have a point to it, which I can only assume will be that it'll be the start of the Mortys getting fed up with Rick, giving him karma. Well, I doubt it's a start because Ricktopia is already burning. It's demonstrating it to us. We see a giant amount of underground rooms making up his war bunker. You'd think with all the technology of a Rick's, you'd think Teddy Rick would have found out this place was a thing by now, because even real life has technology that can detect stuff underground, based on echolocation of some kind. Rick's just eating bonbons while looking unhappy, instead of just sending nanobots to kill stuffed Rick, in his sleep, easily. He's not even trying if the war is still going on. All the way back in Dragar, shockingly, it turns out our time is being wasted with a villain scene. I'm not even sure what to say about this. I'm just confused. One of them asks at a bonfire if they ever wonder if they've taken the whole dragon drainers thing too far, saying that they have the dragons on the run and should just quit while they're ahead. One of them says that they should always follow Lady Findum's orders. The larger female one of them says there's only a few left anyways, and if they find them, they can get back to torturing each other. Why did they ever feel like working together as a team if they used to do that to make each other completely miserable? Oh right, there's sadomasochists, because they look that way. Meanwhile, Lady Findum wants to find Baltimore the dragon, and sings to her magical soul swallow asking to see the dragon's destiny. Then she screams, and we see something flying with light around it above her. And she coughs, and she drops the glowing soul swallow. And it burns, and she's burnt too. I don't understand. I hate this scene because it's just confusing. It's way too vague. She's told the prisoner is ready, and says she'll be right out. Then she tries to interrogate a captured dragon to find out where Balth is going and what the dragon toys are. But since he refuses to tell her, and the scene ends right here, there's no point in us seeing the scene at all. Meanwhile, Morty and his other grandpa Leonard are still flying on the back of a dragon, and they're heading to the Shadow Shafts, where Baltimore would have to face some trials. It turns out the dragon toys were forged when dragons and humans fought side by side. The dragon toys were weapons and tools, but eventually the humans stopped inviting dragons to social events and migrated far away. Why? They were doing it before. If there's not going to be an explanation for that, then what's the point of telling us? It turns out the name of the lazy MacGuffin that'll make the heroes of the story powerful is the dragon beads. They have to rely on a MacGuffin because they're not having Rick there. And the scene ends with the heroes reaching the cavern. So the only point of that scene was a little bit of history building on the planet. That's it. That doesn't make sense. So far, I don't feel like the actual story has progressed. The next scene has stuffed Rick here with his wife Eva, who's probably made as a clone of him like all of the other people in this country. And yet he still dates her out of loneliness. Couldn't he just make a portal gun and go to a parallel universe and get a wife that way? Why does he think he can't kill Rick when he also thinks he could imprison Rick? Why wouldn't he kill him if he could imprison him? If he's already evil enough to be a tyrannical dictator, I guess he knows about Operation Phoenix. He starts coughing and asks for a beverage. He then calls Eva an idiot, telling her to hurry because he's stressed out. Since he insulted her, it makes sense that she smirks and plans against him, because apparently he called her an idiot constantly. She pours stuff into his drink and he takes it, and spits out some metal things and calls them nanites. Pretty big nanites. She says that keeping him subdued for 1,000,000 years sounds pretty good to her and all of the bears he brutalized for centuries. I guess he didn't cough up all of them. I never imagined that his wife would turn against him. I didn't know he had one at all. It makes sense he'd have a wife. It turns out she's dating the Morty with a weirdly spelled name from the start of the issue. It'd make even more sense if she said, "Of course I'm dating him instead of you. We share the same DNA." We see stuffed Rick stuck in a brick, and then we see Rick in the same situation and thrown right next to him. And Teddy Rick wonders if Rick's cocktail's been spiked. The Morty wronged wants to use Rick's technology to trap him here for all eternity. Why is he giving Rick the opportunity to say any last words? Why would he waste time listening to his tedious, predictably unregretful monologue? I like that Rick got trapped and captured by a Morty, because it's both a twist and karma for putting his own people in danger starting a war that he could easily win immediately. Rick memorably says that he's a space wizard, only limited by his poor memory and lack of imagination. Poor memory indeed. He should have remembered he could easily defeat stuffed Rick in one day. And if he had wanted to escape this, he would have, but he thinks the Mortys all suck too much for him to bother. I think he's lying. Rick's confusingly fine with the idea of being trapped here for 1,000,000 years with nothing to do. Or maybe he's just pretending he is. He says that he and Teddy Rick will still exist after this universe ends because of Operation Phoenix. Telling them about this would only prompt them to try to search his brain for the cybernetic chip thing that would keep him connected to Operation Phoenix all the time, so that they could disable it. I'm guessing he has a failsafe, where if that chip is disabled, he wakes up as a clone in another place anyways. So disabling it merely activates the project to save his life. I think it works by, if it stops sending out a signal, then he gets sent to another body right away, even if his body's fine. So he gets completely covered with green nanites or something. They can't really be microscopic, or they'd be too small to see, and just combined together to look like green goo. Instead, they're just tiny spider robots big enough to see. Meanwhile, it turns out Both has to talk to another dragon in the cave to start the trials. That wastes her time as well. It's aggravating that despite him being told about the soul swallow situation threatening the lives of the dragons, he says that he can't just give them the beads because the mountain decides if they're worthy. Even though a mountain can't decide anything. Why did Both fall over and get weakened? I mean, wasn't he fine before? It said that a weakened soul wouldn't survive the trials. Then Leonard says that he'll go to make things right with Morty. Naturally, the dragons are shocked at the idea of a human practicing the trials. He's told that he'll be tested by dark forces in trials. He gets sent away on the back of the dragon, and Morty wishes him good luck and calls him Grandpa without him being able to hear it. Unfortunately, the next page just has to be needlessly mean to Morty. So the dragon gave the other dragons and Morty the gift of voyeurism, and Morty's told that he'll have to put up with it for 4 hours. Why doesn't he just go somewhere where he wouldn't have to put up with this? I don't know if this arc is very good. Meanwhile, Rick gets greeted in the darkness and told that his vision will return shortly, and is asked to wait while they perform diagnostics. Rick asks who got the rock candy wet, and sees a floating jewel in front of him as he and stuffed Rick are floating in a void. At least the scene is a twist. There's a lot of twists in this issue, so I never went out of my way to predict what would happen next. He's told by what's probably an AI that they were wondering whether the Ricks actually existed, because apparently they really suck at history keeping. and is told that many will be reassured to learn that the Ricks were incompetent. Why does he assume that so quickly? Teddy Rick wants to get back at Eva, who is their greatest leader and died surrounded by numerous romantic conquests and the adoring press 10 million years ago. I really don't understand why they still exist. You'd think every time they die, they get teleported. I guess they made an Operation Phoenix on this planet and diverted it to that. You'd think they would escape from where they were imprisoned after they die. They wouldn't still be here after 10 million years. The story ends with them being welcomed to the future they created. Why release them? I don't get it. I don't get how it keeps skipping ahead so much in time without them having to leave the dimension and come back. Most of this issue was padding, but eventually had a lot of genuine surprises. Because Rick got the Mortys of his civilization turned on him for not caring about them and putting them at war, a war they were clearly losing while he hid in a bunker eating bonbons, instead of easily sending nanites to destroy Stuffed Rick in his sleep, or opening a portal where Stuffed Rick is. That would kill him immediately. So somehow he and Teddy Rick were captured and trapped. Teddy Rick, because his wife turned on him for being evil. Because he had a wife, apparently. Yeah, no wonder I couldn't see any of this coming. He got knocked out because he choked and his beverage was spiked with nanites. That was creative. And thankfully, Rick was unconscious the entire time he was sealed underground. So it's more like he was a sealed evil in a can than trapped in a I have no melt and I'm a screen situation. But he wasn't put in a stasis tube. He wasn't literally frozen in time with a magic spell. He would just die and then teleport to the Operation Phoenix pod. And I'm glad Leonard got to be useful and try to make it up to Morty by taking the trials, but never mind. Morty has to see it. Because he hasn't gotten traumatized enough apparently. Lucky for him, Rick can erase memories, so he doesn't have to remember anything he doesn't want to.